Hey, what is going on, guys? It is Chuck here, and in another Firebot tutorial. In this series of Firebot tutorials, we are going to be taking a look at creating complex commands. Now, there are two types of commands that we're going to be creating today, and this will start to scratch the surface on Firebot's effect system. Effects are unbelievably powerful, and we'll be taking a look at these over time in future videos. So if you want to see more specifics about a particular effect that you have questions about, leave a comment below and let me know what effect you'd like to see me demo in the future. For today's video, we are going to be taking a look at the sound effect, play sound effect, and the shout out effect. So let's get started, shall we? In the last video, we took a look at simple commands, and simple commands that we created were Twitter and Burk. One of the things we're going to be doing this time around is actually taking a look at the complex command creator. Now, if we open up Twitter as a command, again, we're clicking the dots here on the side and hitting edit. There's this advanced mode at the bottom we can switch to, and if we click it, you'll see that there's actually quite a few new things that we can play with here. You'll see that there's a description we can add. Firebot has a website that your viewers can view your commands on. If they type !commands, Firebot will tell them all about the commands that you've created and the out-of-the-box Firebot system commands, which we'll take a look at in another video. You can see that we have our global cooldown. You can apply a user cooldown. In the advanced editor, you can also choose whether or not you want to send a chat message when the command is on cooldown. Sometimes you don't want chat to be spammed if it's on cooldown, so we'll play around with that. And you'll see that we have a chat effect. This is where we'll really be playing with this. There are sub commands. We'll take a look at this in another video in the future. But for now, we're going to hit cancel, and we're actually going to change a setting so that way going forward, we will see the advanced command creator. So we're going to go to settings on the side, and we're going to go over to commands up at the top. And you'll see that there's a default mode for new commands, simple or advanced. We're going to switch to advanced. So let's go back to commands. Now, the first command we're going to be creating, this is probably the most mature command I can think of creating, and this is a fart command. Who doesn't like a good old-fashioned fart command? So we're going to create a new command. So let's create a new custom command. Our trigger here is going to be exclamation fart. So with exclamation fart, we are going to apply a global cooldown to this. We don't want this to be spammed too often, of 10 seconds. However, we don't want Firebot to tell the user that there's this cooldown. We just don't want it to react, basically. We got 10-second cooldown on global. And we're not going to apply any particular restrictions. However, this is how you would apply various restrictions. So if you remember in the simple command creator, you could make a command only work for mods or subscribers or make it work for everyone. You could actually make this work with other things. So you could do a follow check, so they have to be following you in order for this to work. And you can even create more complex permission requirements, meaning if you choose by permissions, you can have it be for VIPs as well. So VIPs and moderators and subscribers may be able to use the command, but normal followers would not be able to do things like that. So you can have some custom permissions here. We're not going to apply any restrictions. Now, when we create an effect, what we want to do is hit this Add New Effects button. If we hit this, you'll see all of the different types of effects that we want to do. So when we did our Twitter command, the simple editor just gave us a chat message. So this is basically what we had. Check out Hey Apple's Twitter. Right? This is basically what we were creating before. What we're doing this time is a little bit different. So instead of a chat message type effect, we want to do a sound effect. So we do a search, and we want to play a sound effect. So let's choose play sound. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick a local file, and we're going to find this in just a second. Now, you can also choose to play a random sound. So you can play a specific sound or random sound. So for this, we're gonna do just a single fart sound for now. So let's hit choose file. I'm gonna go to my drive folder that I store all my stuff in. There we go, we have farts. We have 4 fart sounds here. We're gonna choose fart number 1. And we can preview this, so we can make sure that this sounds okay. That sounded pretty good, but it was kind of quiet, right? So we can turn this up a little bit. We can turn it up a little more. That sounds good to me. Now you can decide where this output device should be going. Command, it'll play a sound. Let's save it. So we got our fart command. Let's go to chat. Let's test this bad boy out. So we're gonna type exclamation fart. It farted. If we do it again, it's not gonna do anything because we have that 10-second cooldown. It's also not gonna tell us that we have a cooldown because we don't want it to. However, if we type fart again, it's gonna play once again. Now, playing the same fart sound over and over is when we run our farts command. Fart, I love it. Okay, cool. I'm gonna delete this bad boy. We don't want our existing, we don't want any pre-made stuff. Oh no, no, no. We're gonna reset this. So, the first thing I'm actually gonna do is open OBS. So let's open OBS over here. What you'll see is that we have a sample stream here, right over here, which is just a very old stream of mine. And then we have our Firebot browser overlay. So to create a browser source in OBS, Google it if you don't know how. What we're gonna do though is we gotta get our overlay URL. So we're gonna go to settings, overlay, and you're gonna get your overlay path. So this is the folder here. We're using OBS or slobs. You can also get XSplit. And if you have a 2 PC setup, there's a different way to do this. So we've got our overlay here. We're gonna copy this domain. Cool. From here we go to OBS. We've already got our browser source. We're just gonna make sure that this is the correct URL. Now it is. Beautiful. Perfect. We're just gonna clean up our OBS a bit. And also, yeah, we won't be dealing with overlay instances, but you can create multiple instances of your Firebot overlay if you need to. I do that for some of the stuff I've done in Firebot, but for this tutorial, we're not taking a look at complex overlays. Okay, commands. We're gonna create a shoutout command. So when we create a shoutout command, we're gonna do exclamation SO. Now, what we need is we need to be able to have someone give us a name. We've got our shoutout command. What we're gonna do is we're gonna add a restriction to make it so that way only moderators and the streamer can use the shoutout command. Now, the restriction type here is called permissions. And we're gonna create our permissions here. We're gonna add, and we're gonna make sure that this says that this is only gonna work for moderators and streamers. So that's me, I'm the streamer, and moderators can use that. Cool, we'll just close that up. What we're gonna do is we're gonna add an effect here. So our effect that we're adding is a shout out overlay. There's actually a pre-made show shout out effect, which is really pretty cool. So if we hit select here, you'll see a little bit of a preview of what this is going to look like. So we can choose our color here. We're gonna go with like a nice green, something like that. And you'll see that there's actually a bit of a gradient between the two colors. It goes from one color at the top and another color down at the bottom. If you don't like that, you can just make both colors the same and it's just gonna be a flat color. So there you go. If your text doesn't look great with white color, you can change your color here. You can change the text that you see here. So they are an amazing streamer, give them a follow. What we're gonna do here is we're actually gonna change this. So we're gonna say that the person we're shouting out is an amazing streamer. Now, to do this, what we wanna do is we wanna go to this vars button. These are variables. So this is where you get to add all sorts of cool stuff to this. This is where Firebot gets really cool and powerful. What we're gonna look for is the target of the shout out. What that means is your shout out has to be at mentioning a person. So we're going to use it, but it's going to strip the at symbol from the command. So whoever it is, the at symbol goes away, and it's just a clean version of their name. So we're going to choose target here. So we hit the plus, it adds target is an amazing streamer. We're going to be excited. We're going to add an exclamation mark. Go give them a follow. All right. Now you can also show the last game. So this is this little part here. So if you don't want this, you can check this box and it will go away, or you can show what their last game is. And it includes some of the art behind the scenes as well. So if you want to see like the album art or the game art of whatever game they're playing, if not, you don't have to show this. In terms of the username, you'll see, pro tip, use target. That's what we want to do. So we're just going to click on this vars button again. We're going to search for target, hit the plus button. This will put the username of the target into the command. So it will show their profile picture, their name here.
Released in 1998, Godsmack's first album was originally self-released under the title All Wound Up until the band signed a major recording deal to Universal and Republic Records. They would soon re-release the record as a self-titled album. Gracing the cover was a mysterious pierced woman along with a logo that I always thought shared some similarities with Alice in Chains. Not to mention the band's name Godsmack, which is a track taken off Alice in Chains' hugely popular 1992 album Dirt. I found it funny when Godsmack drummer Shannon Larkin claimed the band were not influenced by Alice in Chains, saying they were not clones, telling the Reno Gazette-Journal, "I don't hear it. I was never a big Alice in Chains fan. Lane's voice is amazing, but I never heard it. If somebody said Godsmack sounds like Metallica, I could totally hear that. Sully sounds like James Hetfield to me. I guess there's a darkness to the harmonies that sound like Lane and Jerry, but to me it's apples and oranges," he would say. Anyways, getting back to the story. Who is the woman on the cover? Was she real? And if so, what is she up to today? That's what we're going to explore in today's video, along with a controversy involving the album, and a disgruntled parent, and a story I've previously done on Godsmack in case you guys have missed it. The woman on Godsmack's debut album is a real person. Her name is Toni Tiller, and she would be interviewed by Kerrang! Magazine, where she discussed how she got on the cover of the record and what she's up to today. She would admit to meeting the members of the band years after the photo shoot took place and how nice they were to her. She would tell Kerrang! That she graced the album cover, recalling, "I was living in New York City and deeply involved in the club kids scene, and so I had an interesting look going. I met a photographer in Brooklyn and we were trying a few things out for a project of his. A few years later, he was working with the band and they saw that in his book and liked it. So they purchased it for use. The next thing I know, my face is everywhere. It was pretty strange, but I love weird stuff like that," she'd recall. That image of Tiller was actually taken 4 years prior to their debut album coming out in 1994. Tiller would admit that she wasn't a model and would help people out if they asked, also admitting that one woman in New York made a doll of her. Surprisingly, she would admit that being on the album cover never got her recognized in public, largely because of geography. She would tell Kerrang! That there weren't a lot of Godsmack fans where she lived at the time. You're probably asking, what is she up to today? Well, she would admit to Kerrang! "Now I live in the woods, I'm bald, usually barefoot, and into a variety of stuff. Meditation, strange objects, cooking, esoteric studies, cacti, dollhouses, rugs, and artsy crap. My spare time, I have a reform school for rude kittens." Since doing the interview with Kerrang!, she's also posted some photos showing her signing posters for fans of the band's debut album. Let's talk about the controversy behind the record. Released in August of 1998, Godsmack's debut record didn't really create any trouble for almost a year. Then in April of 1999, the album was certified gold in America, moving 500,000 copies. Fast forward to June of that year, and MTV reported that one parent from Cleveland had bought the record for his kid, and after going through the liner notes and lyrics, complained about the record, citing objectionable artwork and lyrics. The artwork they objected to were pentagrams. The album hadn't been released with a parental advisory sticker and somehow made its way past the people who review albums for Walmart and Kmart. Both those chains didn't sell records at the time that had parental advisory stickers. The complaint resulted in the chains pulling the albums off store shelves, and eventually the band agreed to and put parental advisory stickers on the record, with frontman Selly Erna telling Rolling Stone, "Our record has been in the marketplace for more than a year now without a parental advisory sticker, and this is the one and only complaint. Stickers and lyrics are by nature subjective. We decided to put a sticker on the record. It's almost taunting kids to go out and get the record to see what we're saying." Erna would claim that the controversy didn't hurt album sales, and he was probably right, as it would go 4 times platinum in America. Let's talk now about the feud between Godsmack and Motley Crue that happened when the bands toured together in the 2000s.
For the past decade or so, we've seen a war of words exchanged between Godsmack frontman Sully Erna and Motley Crue bassist Nikki Sixx. In fact, the whole feud dates back to 2009 when Godsmack was on tour with Motley Crue as part of Crue Fest 2. And here's an interview with Sully Erna shortly after the tour where he slammed Motley Crue's diva behavior.
I'll tell you, it's been the most dramatic tour we've ever been on. I mean, talk about just just craziness, man. Sometimes egos run high, man, and there has definitely been some rock star garbage on this tour that we just have never seen in our career. Every band, from Black Sabbath to Aerosmith, Rush, Metallica, you name it, they've always, like, I don't think there was ever a threat, you know what I mean? Like, who's gonna dwarf Metallica anyways? But there's always just been this mutual kind of like, we want to put on a great show. So bring your bells and whistles, bring your show. So between you guys and us, we can, you know, make these people get a bang for their buck. And that's really what entertainment has always been about. And so I've never been in a position before where we felt we had to really protect this thing, you know? It's kind of like a dog with a bone, man. It's like you put us up against a wall, we're going to come out swinging.
We asked Godsmack's shoot-from-the-hip vocalist if Motley Crue might have been acting out of ego competition between Crewfest fans or living up to previous traveling tours like Ozfest.
I don't know who needs to live up to whose reputations, and I don't know why some people consider music as a competition. But I will tell you that I have never been in a situation where I felt like I was out for blood, you know? And honestly, this was the first time that I felt like, you know what? If there's going to be some people that are going to treat other people a certain way, then I'm going to go out there every night and crush you on stage, make sure that we make you look old and fat, and go home with a nice big fat paycheck. And you can sit in your world, and I'll sit in mine, and see you at the top again, I guess, somewhere. I don't know. I mean, all I care about really is playing music and enjoying myself on the road. I'm not here to compete, you know?
Now, it would come out shortly afterwards that Erna's comments were aimed directly at Motley Crue bassist Nikki Sixx, and here's Sixx responding to the comments.
I had a great time. The singer in Godsmack was complaining about me, basically. They say he wrote a song about me, but he's never confirmed it, so we would just be gossiping, you know, so I don't know if it's true. But I guess they had a bad time on the tour. So, you know, them.
Now, in 2011, Godsmack drummer Shannon Larkin revealed whether the song that the band wrote called Crying Like an Expletive was aimed specifically about Nikki Sixx. He revealed that the song was written actually about Phillip Rivers from the San Diego Chargers, who cried after a game loss. And he would also take the opportunity to clear up the air on exactly what happened behind the scenes on the Crewfest 2 tour, saying coming off that Crue tour, Sully had some issues with Nikki. Most of it stemmed from Motley Crue's security more than Nikki, but Nikki is the leader of the band. Basically, the security threw us off the stage. Whatever it was a bunch of ego stuff that none of us really got into. He'd go on to say Motley Crue's security were real weird with our guests getting backstage, like our guests might want to look at Motley Crue. Our guests were there to see us, and they didn't give a crap about Motley Crue, and Motley Crue is a legendary band that we all respect. When I was 17, I had Shout at the Devil, but it just kind of fronted us a little bit that they would think that our guests would be starstruck over them, so that's where the bad blood came from. As to where all the recent animosity is coming from, Larkin pointed out that Sully runs his mouth and Nikki runs his mouth. They're both big rock stars. Next thing you know, it's a battle in the press. He'd conclude by saying that the Crewfest 2 tour was a fantastic tour. Now, by May of 2014, things didn't really seem to be improving between the camps, As Nikki Sixx would say on his radio show 6th Sense, that Motley Crue would turn down the opportunity to headline US festivals if Godsmack was on the same bill. And later that year, during an interview with a radio station in Cincinnati, Erna was asked about how he felt about Nikki Sixx being forced to play Godsmack's music because the band was on top of the rock charts, and Erna responded by saying, "The one thing I'll never give the guy is the kind of cheap publicity that he's looking for." He'd go on to say, "I don't do media wars. If he has something to say, he can come say it to my face. If he has a problem, he can come see me." He continued by saying, "This isn't going to be anything for publicity. I'm not going to give him that. He's on the downslide of his career, and I'm not just going to do it." And the feud would extend 1 year further into 2015 and into its 6th year when Erna appeared on the Jamie Jasta podcast, stating that Sixx was an old, fat, washed-up has-been who treats people like crap. And Motley Crue bassist Nikki Sixx would have the final say when he called Sully Erna a baby in response to the comments a few days later. It seemed like by 2015 things had finally subsided, and there was no longer a war of words exchanged between the camps. Who knows whether we'll see both bands share the stage again. That concludes today's video, guys. Let me know your thoughts on Godsmack and Motley Crue, and who do you think would win in a fight? Nikki Sixx or Sully Erna? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, if you have suggestions for
I'm leaving dilly bars and Vidoka vodka for a week. Or until something interesting happens. Yeah! It's me! And now, we wait. Well, it's been a week, and this is ice cold. The ice cream is frozen! Oh no! Dibosia! Something went wrong. Do another Bon Appetit just in case. It tastes like rotten. Like those are chunks. It's not like ice cream bits. I should have directly put this in the freezer. What was I thinking? It's time for a shot. Dibosia. Milk, no. No milk. That is just not how it's supposed to be. One up.
I interviewed Ric Flair recently, and I asked him what is pro wrestling.
You're gonna push a meeting with me.
Harvey, Logan Sanders is here to see you.
First of all, I don't appreciate you stomping into my office with an attitude.
Yeah, well, I don't appreciate being put off, especially when I know that you never pushed a meeting with my father.
Your father never went to Jessica to set a meeting with me.
Then I assume the next time I call you directly, you'll pick up the phone.
Logan, let me give you the ABCs of me. I don't take meetings, I set them. And my respect isn't demanded, it's earned.
That's only two things. What's C?
C is for people who show me they know A and B.
Well, since we're quoting Jerry Maguire, all I want is for you to show me the money.
It just took step number one towards earning my respect. And I did that about you.
Great. Would it be too much trouble for me to discuss my business now?
Well, I was gonna move on to Crimson Tide, but yeah, go ahead. Knock yourself out.
You're gonna push a meeting with me.
I don't care if you think you're a sheepdog and you come into my store. It don't matter to me. Just don't come in and try to shove that shit down my throat.
If it makes someone feel better, what about their feelings?
I don't give a shit about their feelings. I'm old.
What about in the Star Wars universe? Jar Jar Binks, pansexual, do you think? Transgender?
Why would I even care?
If it's his truth.
Well, it ain't true.
You're not a scientist. You're not a gender studies major. Or are you?
No.
Okay. How do you know that you're a man?
How do I know that I'm a, I guess because I got a dick. I don't care if you think you're a sheepdog and you come.
We all know the struggle. You just beat the game, but now you're somewhere between level 35 and 40 and you don't know what to do next. Well, it's time to grind XP and bust through some in-game content, of course. So these are my best ways to level fast in Borderlands 3. But before we dive too deep into the where, let's take a look at one of the hows. Available to all players with an active internet connection, the Borderlands Science Machine located in Tannis' lab on Sanctuary 3 is a fast and easy way to boost your XP gains. Simply play the Science Machine game by matching as many faces per row to the ones that